Okay, so if I can get everybody to jump into Photoshop, we're going to start with the synthetic file first. Just because there was some conversation in this class at the critique last week, I think it was last week or the week before, about getting colors to match. So I just want to show you guys what I think is the easiest way to get colors to match. Okay, so we're going to do this, like I said, with a synthetic file. If you can just hit Command-N, which will bring up the new dialog box. If you can't remember that, it's up to the File menu to New, and we're just going to create a blank file. I'm going to do a 10 by 8, so I want this to be a little bit more horizontal. Again, at 72 resolution is fine. RGB color, 8-bit is fine. White is the background contents, and go ahead and say OK to that. And you should get an image that comes up that looks somewhat like this. If you don't have your rulers like mine, the way mine show up here, rulers are actually a great thing to have. I leave them on all the time. But also, if you want to use guides, you need to use rulers because that's where the guides come from. So if you don't have rulers, come up to the View menu and come down to Rulers and just have a check mark next to it, and you will actually see them. If you want to change the increments that your rulers are in, this is in inches right now, but if you hover your mouse over the ruler itself and hold down the Control key and click, you'll get a drop-down menu, and you can put it into anything that you want. So you could do pixels or centimeters or whatever, but inches in our case will be fine. And then to get the guides that I was talking to you about, if you come over on to, and you can do it on either ruler, if you simply click on the ruler and drag out, you'll pull out a guide. These guides tend to be sticky, and what I mean by that is that as you pull this guide out, you'll see as you get near the 5-inch mark, which is the middle of this image, it sort of like snaps into place. And once you get there, you will also see that on your guide, there's a little baby readout right next to it. That readout is indicating how far to the left we're going actually in the image. So what I've just done now is I've created a guide that has separated my image in two. Are you guys all with me? If your image is really super small, if you double click, if is too small, if you double click on the hand, it'll actually get as large as it can be and still be able to see the entire image. So if we come up then to the second tool down, not the move tool, which is the double-headed arrow, but the one right underneath it, the rectangular selection tool, this is the marquee tool. If you come out into your image like this, and you can actually come out and you can drag out and you can create a selection. Have we gone through making selections in this class? These kind of selections? Okay, so I'm going to hit Command-D to deselect that one. What I really want you to do is just come up to the corner and drag out for only half of the image. And you can, again, use that guide to get your half of an image so that you've got a rectangular selection that looks like this. Then I want you to come over to your foreground color picker. It doesn't matter what color it is right now because we're going to change it. And simply click on it, and the color picker dialog box will open up. And we're going to type in some values. I'm going to click on the red value, so it's this guy right here, the R value, and I'm going to put in 128 to give myself sort of a middle-ish red. And then I'm going to simply click on, I'm going to click on a color up here. So I'll give you the other values to put in. So we've got an RGB value. The red value is 237. The green value is 167, and the blue value is 0. And it's kind of a yellowy, dark, sort of a yellowy kind of color. And go ahead and say OK to that. That now becomes your foreground color. So now that this is your foreground color, I want you, because we've got an active selection going on here, remember that to fill with the foreground color is your Option key plus Delete. To fill with the background color is the Command key plus Delete. And if you look, yes. If you look at your keyboard, look right at the space bar, this right next to the left of the space bar. The relationship, the key that is right next to the space bar, the Command key, is always the background color, no matter what the background color is. And the Option key, which is next to it, is always the foreground color. The relationship of these two are just like the relationship on your keyboard. So again, in my case, I want to fill with my foreground color, so it's Option plus Delete, and I fill it with this sort of whatever color that I got going here. Command-D to deselect. then we're going to actually select the other panel that's right next to it. So again, I'm going to come up here to my rectangular selection marquee tool. I'm going to start up here at the guide. I'm going to click and drag out the other half of my image now. And I'm going to make a slightly different color there. I'm actually going to click on the color picker again to open it up. And I'm going to change this now. I'm actually going to add some blue to this. So I'm going to put in a 20 blue. Let's make it a little bit more obvious than that. Let's put in a 50 blue. Let's make it even more obvious than that. Let's put in 100 blue. That'll actually make it more obvious. And so this is the new color that I've got, guys. There's a 237 red, a 167 green, and a 100 blue. That's what I just got. Are we good? Okay. And I'm going to say okay to that. And I'm going to fill this with that color. So again, because this new color is still my foreground color, Option Delete. Focus, people. We got a lot of work to do tonight. The new color is 237 red, 167 green, 100 blue. And say okay. And then Command D to deselect. So does everybody have these two colors?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so just add 100 blue at the bottom. Okay, perfect. So this is some of the things that you guys faced. So what you faced in this was that these are related colors, but they're not the same. Did everybody get this? No, that's okay. So it's the very same color. All you added was 100 blue. And what was the green on that? 167? Hang on. So it's 237 for the red channel, it's 167 for the green channel, and 100 for the blue channel. It's these values right up here, these guys right here. So then say okay to that. Are we good? Okay. So which one of these do we want to change to make it look like the other one? I'm taking a vote. Which is the mustard? Okay, we're going to make the left. See, Adam just said it. He's fucking in there for it all, man. He says, make the left look like the right. I love that. Okay, typically what I do is I take the one that I want to change first. So back over to the toolbar. If you keep coming down on the toolbar, you will see a thing that looks like an eyedropper tool. If you click on that eyedropper, the thing that comes out is just the eyedropper tool. All this thing that we'll do is sample color. That's not going to help us. What I want you to do is drop down 3 to the third tool down, the color sampler tool. Everybody look up at my screen to see where I'm at. So it's the flyout menu for the eyedropper down here to the color sampler tool. When you do that, you also need to check that this sample size up here at the top in the options menu is reading 3x3 average, not point sample, which is on by default. Point sample is too specific. You want this 3x3 average. And then finally, you want to come over into your image and you want to click once on the left color. And you will see when you do that, it drops down a point. It leaves a point there. It's actually numbered. It says number 1 on it. And you get a readout in this info palette that says what that color is. Can everybody see that? Then you come over to the color on the right-hand side and you do it again. You click again, and now you'll see that you've got a point sample number 2 right here. Does everybody see that? Finally, has everybody got both of these color sampler points? So we're going to put a curve on here to correct this one guy from the other. So in order to do that, we are going to, first, we are going to draw out a selection of the right-hand side again. So back up to the selection marquee tool and drag out so that you select the entire right side. And now we're going to add a curve to this, an adjustment layer. So come down to your adjustment layer, come up and add curve to that. And the reason I did this selection first is you can see it actually then gives me a built-in mask. Did that work for everybody?
How did you reselect?
I just drug it out. I just drug it out. So I know, but throw this guy away. Throw the mask away. Throw the whole thing away. Sure. You just drag the whole curve. Drag the whole curve. So go up to the rectangular marquee tool, click, and drag and check selection going. Yeah, do Command D to deselect. And now add your. No, you can't do it that way. Start from the top. Good, right? And add an adjustment layer curve. So does that work for everybody? Does everybody have a curve that's got a mask on it?
I got it.
Everybody look. Watch, 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 watch. Focus up here. Look, watch my screen really quick. I'm going to make this simple. Come to the rectangular marquee tool. Select the right-hand side. I'm simply clicking at the top and dragging down. Sorry. Click and drag down. I've now got an active selection going. Does everybody have that? Does anybody not have a selection going? Okay, then simply go over to your layers palette. At the bottom of the layers palette, click on add an adjustment layer and add a curve. And it will automatically build the mask for you. Can you see that? Because I had a selection going. And the mask is the selection. It's
selected and then you would adjust also
okay, I've got no selection going on right now, right? Try this, guys. Hit Command D so you have no selection. And then add another curve. You'll see, you get a curve. It's got an empty mask. It's got a white mask on it. That means there is nothing being held back. It's letting that curve affect the entire image. Whereas the one that we made with the selection, the only thing that's going to change is the area that's white. Again, white in a mask reveals, black conceals. So I'm going to throw away that curve that I just added because I don't need that one. But in the curve that we've just got, this guy right here, you can see what the challenge is that we want to do. If you look at these values right here, everybody was worried about how do you get colors to look the same? Well, the way you get colors to look the same is this color right here in point number 1 right here. When we've got a curve, when this curve is actually added on here, you'll see that you get 2 values of these numbers right now. Again, I'm going to click back on my background layer, not on the curve, and you see you've only got 1 set of numbers right here. 1 set of colors for color number 1, the stuff that's on the left, and 1 for the one on the right. But when I click on the curve, you get 2 sets of numbers. And the reason you have 2 sets of numbers is that these are now before and after numbers. The numbers on the left are what the image was before we made any changes on the curve. The ones on the right are going to be what the curve actually is changing. Now, in this case, when you look at these, they're all the same. And the reason these are all the same is because we haven't done anything on the curve yet. Does that make sense? So finally, in looking at these, we can see that the only thing that we really need to change is this blue value. So if I want the thing on the right to match the one on the left, what I have to do is I have to get the after numbers, these numbers right here, on this part over here to match the before numbers on this guy over here. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I want to do is on my right-hand side, look at the screen up here. I'm doing this with my mouse, but I'm going to point this out to you guys. So this color right here is 237.167.0. This color over here is 237.167.100. I need to change that 100 blue to 0. That's all I need to do. If I can get those sets of numbers to match, my colors will be the same. Does that make sense? Yes. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So I am going to click on my drop-down menu here. The only thing I need to change is the blue. It's this guy right here. And then I am going to simply grab the bottom channel right here, the bottom part of this, and I'm going to start dragging in this direction. You can see as I start to do that, the after numbers of my blue are beginning to change. These guys are beginning to move. And what's beginning to happen now is they're starting to go down. Nothing is happening on this number 1 point. Why aren't these numbers on this 1 point changing? Because what? No, because this curve that I've got has got a mask on it. And this mask, the black part of this mask is protecting this color right here. Make sense? So I'm going to continue to drag that over. And I'm just looking at the readout numbers on the bottom. I'm looking to try to get that 100 to go to 0. And there it is.
Can't you just take the brush tool and like and just brush it in a new layer?
A new color?
Yeah.
I could, but how do you do that if you're trying to match two people's skin tones? Yeah. Okay, here. Click on the RGB drop down, come down to the blue, click on this bottom down here, and watch these numbers. See that one? See as you're dragging now? Hey, slow down, slow down, slow down. Just start to drag in this direction. Yeah, I am. Drag in this direction. And look what's happening to that number. It's going down. When you hit 0, it goes. Yeah. Because now these match. These two match.
Oh, I see the same color.
Yes.
I got it. I see what you're going for. I see it.
Who did this not work for? So guys, where this comes into play is if you've got two skin tones that are different than one another, you do this exact same trick. And then you use, but again, look at this, guys. If you turn off your mask, you can turn off your mask, but if you cover over the mask, hold down the shift key and click, the mask goes completely away. Actually, nothing else is changing in this either because it's the same curve is doing the same thing. But at any rate, if you do this with skin tones, you've got to use a mask to control where those skin tones are. Did that make sense? Okay, are there questions about this? All right, you can close this guy up. I'm going to make sure that you guys get your homework right. And so to do that, I did it myself, and we are now going to look at it. So, and this is also going to be a quick review of workflow. Oh, what I said before, though, is we need to really quickly go into Lightroom and show you how to export a catalog one more time, right? Especially for Tessa, right? So, what didn't you ask about it? Right. I don't want all of your full-blown raw files. I don't want that. So again, if you click on Lightroom, I want your top 20 selects, but again, I just want the previews. I don't want the image. I don't want the raw files. That's what I'm going to show you right now. So in this case, I'm not going to give you Kenny's. I'm going to actually do one of my own. So you need to open up your file and the thing that you just shot for the assignment tonight in Lightroom. All right, so this is my catalog right here. These are my images that I'm actually going to use. So what you need to do is in the library, you need to select the grid view so that you can see all the ones that you want to actually do this with. We are going to create a new collection. So again, on the left-hand side of your screen, you should see collections over here. If you click on the plus button and say create collection, a dialog box will open up and it will let you actually name this collection. What are we going to name the collection? Well, what is your assignment? So in my case, it is my last name first. It would be your last name. You know, I've actually had people turn in their assignments using my last name. Yeah, because I say here in class, make a collection, use your last name. In my case, it's Engelhard, and they go right on and they type in Engelhard. And it's like, no, it's your collection. So put in your last name, ENGELHARD _ what? Oh, no, I haven't gotten that. That's a new one. Somebody will do that. Verser, your first name, VRSER _ and then what was the assignment number? Is it 7.1? 7.1, that's the name of the assignment. And before you actually say okay to this, I simply copy it. So if you drag across this and come up to the edit menu, you can actually copy the name because you're going to use it again. and go ahead and say create. In this case, it's going to say include the selected photos. If you'd already selected photos, that'd be great. If not, we can actually add them to the collection. If you didn't have photos selected, you would simply select them now. Actually, I'm going to go back to my all photos. You can actually, these last two were selected. They're already in this new collection right here. But you can grab other photos as well and simply drag them into this new collection. Sorry. That is not letting me drag those to the new collection. All right, so if you've done that and it didn't work for you, click on this collection and hit minus. It will delete it. And then you need to select the files first that you want in this guy. So again, if you hold down the command key, you can select non-continuous guys. So you would pick your 20 that you like the best. Hopefully you've actually done your star rating, so you simply would pick your 20. And now that you've got these selected, make your new collection again. And again, since I've already got the name that I had just done copied to my clipboard, I can simply come up to edit down to paste, and it puts that name in again. And I do want to have this check, include selected photos inside this collection. And I'm gonna go ahead and say create, and now this is what you are going to export to me. So again, now you come up, because the collection is active, you can see it's not all photos, it's actually the collection right here. You come up to the file menu, down to export as catalog. A dialog box will open up. And again, you're going to name this the exact same thing. And since it's already copied on the clipboard, all you need to do is paste, and the exact same name comes out there. You need to navigate to your export folder. Now, in Foundations, both classes, you were supposed to have created a Lightroom library, and inside that library, you're supposed to have camera files, catalogs, and exports. The export folder is the one that you want to do this to. If you don't have that, does anybody in here not have that? Okay, do you have an export folder? You're not even in Lightroom. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at your other screen. Okay, what's your question? Okay. Right. So rate them during the break and then do it then. I don't want 90. Okay, so but here's the big thing right here is when you do that export catalog, you uncheck this export negative files. This is your raw files. I don't know why they call it negative. They should just call this export raw files, but they don't. Anyway, this makes sure that that is unchecked. You also want to make sure that this includes smart previews is unchecked. The only thing I want you to have checked is the include available previews. And then you say export the catalog. And that is the thing that you turn in. You go to, again, to your Lightroom folder, wherever mine is. I don't remember where mine is. You go to your export folder and you grab the thing that just got exported. There will be two files in that export folder. There will be one that's got your previews and one that is the catalog. Are there questions about this? Okay, so you can quit Lightroom then. And I need you to go to that folder that I asked you to copy over from our from the class partition. And let me find my version of it right here. Okay. So inside that folder, there will be a folder called 20161026_COL_COMPOSIT. What can you tell me about the files in this folder? Right? For Columbia Composite, right? You guys have not even seen the first picture, and you can give me all that information. So we have talked about naming convention in this class, right?
Yes.
So this is the one that I use. So within that, there are, if you come in that, you'll see there's a series of folders inside that. There is a capture folder in there. And inside that capture folder, you will see a shot number 1, a shot 2, and a shot 3. So what I need you to do is get into the shot 1 folder. Is everybody there? Okay, there are 7 files in here. I need you to select all of them. So simply click on the very top one, hold down the Shift key, click on the bottom one. You'll have all 7 selected now, and drag all of them on top of the Photoshop icon. So did this happen? Did they all come into Photoshop? So I am going to show you how to do your homework, but I'm also showing you how to shoot. Because I'm tired of looking at all your sorry-ass underexposed files. So where we are going to start with this image here right now, I need to make sure that everybody's got that stuff. Move me over here, Mira. Yeah. You guys okay? Okay. So at the very first one, when you take a look at this guy, what do you see sitting on the couch? It's a color checker. And I've also, so I'm going to tell you this right now. I set this up in my living room. It is an available light photograph of my white couch. It's not white though. Number 1, it's really blue, and number 2, it's underexposed. Why is that? Have we talked about light meters in this class yet? Yes. And we talked about reflected light meters, what the world expects to see, what the meter expects the world to be out there, right? And what a meter does is when it gives you an exposure reading, it's looking at your image and it says, I'm going to make that image middle gray. That's what it is, because that's all it knows to do. So the white couch confuses it. The white couch should be white, but my exposure is trying to make that white couch middle gray, right? So the consequence of that is that the file is underexposed. How much is it underexposed? Well, this is how I can tell. If you zoom in on that color checker, so to zoom in, you can do, again, you can come up and just grab the little magnifying glass, and you can click on the color checker, and it will zoom into it alone. We need to white balance this thing first because this is also really, really, really blue. In order to white balance this, you come to the third tool over on the top. Not the magnifying glass, not the hand, but the next one over, the first of the eyedroppers, and that is the white balance tool. If you click on this guy and come over and click on, I usually use the gray patch that's right next to the red. If you click on that, it should neutralize your color out, and it does. Now, in my opinion, that is the simplest color correction in the world, and it's one-click color correction. So if you're not believing in this card yet, wait till you see this. However, I also said to you that the white patch, once you have color neutralized this, that the white patch should actually read a specific, within a specific range. What was that range I told you? No. It's okay. So in the case of if you're shooting in C1 Pro, that range is 245 to 250. It's slightly different in Camera Raw. It runs more in the 240 to 245 range for Camera Raw. But here's the deal, guys. If you look at this color card, I'm going to show it to everybody right now. What is white in Photoshop? What is pure white? Numerically. 255, right? So if you take a picture of this card, me holding this card, this little white dot here is real. It should have texture. This should not be pure white. This is not paper white. This should have some value to it. So that's why we use that 245 to 250 in C1 Pro, and in Camera Raw we would use something close to 240, 245. It makes it extremely close to white, but it is not white. It's not pure white. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what I'm going for here. If I look at my readout values right now, I'm actually getting up here, because you look right under your histogram, you'll get the readout values that we're getting. I'm in the high 160s, low 170s. That's the value that I'm actually getting for this white patch. So again, it's confirmation that I'm underexposed. So if I go to my next image down, so I measured this. I was shooting tethered. I measured it. I shot a completely new exposure. And again, say what? All right, so has everybody gone to the second of the files that are in here? The next one down. Click on the next one down, the shot 002, the next guy down. So again, I'm going to zoom in to the card. I'm going to color neutralize this card as well. I'm going to click on the gray patch that's right next to the red. I'm going to come over and read my readouts right now. And what am I getting in my readouts right now? I've got 244, 244, 243. Perfectly neutral color, perfect fucking exposure. And it took me 5 seconds to do this. And you fucking people keep fucking this up by not fucking using these things.
That's fair.
So now I've got perfectly neutral color and I've got perfect exposure. However, I got a whole bunch of files down here. The rest of these guys down here have not been color corrected. So in order to color correct the rest of them, you simply come to the drop-down menu at the top of the film strip. Look right here. Look up at my screen. And you do select all, and you will see all of the other images just got selected. Then you go right back to that same drop-down menu, and you come down and you do sync settings. And a dialog box will come up, and you can actually, all these are, these are just, if you use this drop-down menu, all these things are just presets of what of these things are checked and what aren't checked. Typically, I would do everything. I would simply sync everything. And you'll see it just puts a check mark on all of these guys. And then simply say, okay. And watch what happens. All the other images just got color balanced based on the one with the card. Does that make sense to everybody? So has everybody got color balanced images now? Are we good?
So,
Isn't that what just happened? Okay, so we're good. Did everybody have this? So the whole group now is color balanced, right? Okay, so now come down to the very bottom one, the one on the very bottom, and select it. Just click on it. And then hold down your shift key and go up. I want you to just select the bottom three, the final three images. That's all I want you to select. The rest of these were simply reference files for me. So just the bottom three images. That's all I want you to select. And then before you say open, you see this little check, the hyperlink that's at the bottom of the screen. And now I want you to click on that hyperlink and it will open up. This is how you tell Photoshop, or this is how you tell Adobe Camera Raw, how you want your files brought into Photoshop. So again, we are using Adobe RGB color space. Some of the people in this class are still using ProPhoto RGB. I'm okay with that as long as you use 16-bit color. And for all the people who are doing it, you are using 16-bit color, so I'm good with that. It doubles the size of your file, and there's no real reason to do it, but I can't, if that's where you want to go, I'm fine with that. But for everybody else, I want you to use Adobe RGB color, and then 8 bits per channel. You can leave this unboxed down here in terms of image sizing. Just don't check anything in here. It'll strictly do the default. And then finally down here, this is the thing I want you to use, is this open in Photoshop as smart objects. I want you guys working with smart objects. I've still got a few people here who are not doing that. And then say, okay. And then down here, this should read, if you've got it set up right, it should read open objects right down here. So go ahead and click on that. And all three of these images should come into your screen. Now, in my case, I have separate images. In your case, you probably have tabs.
How do you get them snap to the, like a tab? Because I can't find it when
You want it to be tabs. You don't want it to be separate images. Yeah, okay. So here's the way. Kenneth actually wants his to be tabs. I don't like tab behavior, but he wants his to be that way, which is fine. So again, to change that, you come up to the Photoshop menu, down to Preferences, and I'm going to look at Interface. It's not there. It's Workspace. It's this guy right here. So the two things you would check is that if you want your images, all multiples to open as tabs, you click on this Open Documents as tabs, in which case all three of these would be tabbed. But also, if you're moving images around and you want them to dock as tabs, you click on this Enable Floating Document Window Docking, and then it should work for you. But in my case, I want you to go ahead and leave them as it is right now. So if you look at these three images, you will see that there is an image of me right in the middle of my couch. I want you to make that guy active. You need to be able to see the other screens as well. So typically the one with me in the middle, I've just got it sort of up at the top. And then I want you to click on any of the other images. I don't care which other one you click on. In my case, I'm clicking on the one where I'm on the right-hand side. And then you need to watch my screen while I do this. Do not do this yet, just watch my screen. If you take the layer of the image of me on the right side of the couch and you click and you drag it on top of the image where I am in the middle, and before you let go, hold down the shift key, this will come in perfect register. Just drag it and hold down the shift key. So I'll show you what I did again. Okay, so I can see the image that's got me in the center of the couch. I have now also, I can see the image that's got me on the right side of the couch, and it is the active one. I know it's the active one because the type that's in the top of the title bar is black. It's not grayed out like the image that's underneath. You come over to the layer, not the image, but the layer of that image. You click on that layer, you drag it on top of the file that's got me in the middle. You hold down the shift key and let go. If you don't hold down the shift key, it will not come into register. It'll look something like this. Not exactly, but it can look like this. Then then hit Command Z to undo it and do it again. Back over to the image where I'm on the right-hand side, click and drag, and before you let go, hold down the shift key. The shift key brings them into register.
You said it's me.
Yes.
And then it's
Yes, this is not coming to register either.
yeah,
Don't worry, then just hit the V key to get the move tool and just move it on the snap in place. You'll see it pop in place. And you're good. Did it work for everybody else? Okay, so go back to the one where I'm alone just on the right side of the couch, and you can get rid of it. It's already done everything I wanted out of it. So now, not the one that's just got the single layer of it, the shot number 5, the frame number 5, you can close it up. You do not need to save it, because I've already got a copy of it sitting here in my shot number 7 one. So then finally we need to do the last one. You need to then find the image where I'm sitting cross-legged on the left-hand side and do the exact same trick. Grab the layer of it, not the image, but the layer of it, drag it on top of the image that started out, the one that's got the other 2 layers already on it. Hold down the shift key and let go, and it should come into register. For those of you that it doesn't come into register, simply grab the move tool or hit the V key and move this image around until it snaps into place. And you should now have, you can go back now to the cross-legged one by itself, shot 06, and you can close that up. You don't need to save it either. And you should now have a version of this file that's got all 3 of those smart objects in it. Who does not have that? So we're all good? Okay, so first things first. Are we okay? I'm going to put an opaque mask on this very top layer. Now, there's a number of ways of doing that. You already know if you come down here and you click on the Add Layer Mask at the bottom of your Layers palette, if you click on that, it adds a white layer mask, which is fine. If you want to invert that layer mask to make it black, you simply hit Command-I. If you can't remember that, undo, you can actually simply come up to make sure that the mask is selected. You can tell that it is selected because the brackets are around it. Simply come up to the Edit menu, down to Fill, and in your drop-down menu, say you want to fill it with complete black. I'm going to undo that one again. Another way that you can do it, again, select the mask itself to make sure that it is active. Hit the D key to default your foreground and background colors to black and white. Hit the X key to make black your foreground color, and then hold down Option and hit Delete, just like we've been doing. That will also fill it with black. Finally, I'm going to throw mine away. I'm going to drag my mask, not the layer, but just the mask down, and to get rid of it, the shortest and the easiest way to add an opaque layer mask to this is to simply hold down the Option key when you click on the Add Layer Mask button. And when you do that, it will put on a black layer mask. And you will see that in my case, the cross-legged guy disappears. If you then select the middle image, the one that has got me on the right, we're going to put an opaque layer mask on him as well. So again, hold down the Option key, click on Add Layer Mask, and the guy on the right goes away. So you should now be looking at the only thing you should see is the guy in the middle. Handsome guy that he is. Oh, yes. Of course I will. Okay, you don't have the layer mask on the last one, or you just bringing it back in? Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's the final trick. The final trick. Hit the B key to bring up a brush. In my case, I'm going to come up and check to see what kind of brush it is. I just click on the drop-down menu. I want to make this a soft edge brush. In terms of its size, again, you use the bracket keys just to the right of the P key. The key just right next to the P key on the right-hand side will make your brush smaller. The bracket key next to that on its right will make it larger. Hit the X key to make sure that your foreground color is now white. Make sure that we are working on the layer mask, not the image, but the layer mask, this guy right here. And I'm going to start with the guy on the right. So I've got on my second layer, the guy that is on the right, on this black layer mask, I'm simply going to paint in with white and add the guy. And this is what I was talking to you guys about in terms of the advantage of doing this. This was shot on a tripod, so everything in this image is in perfect register. So you don't have to have that great of a mask. I'm going to show you what my mask looks like. That's what my mask looks like. Not some great, massive, incredible selection, but the reason it works is because the whole rest of the image was completely in register. So finally, I'm going to click on the top layer to add the cross-legged guy. Again, make sure that the layer mask is what is active and simply paint with white to bring in the top layer guy, the guy who's sitting with his cross-legged right there. Do not paint over on the guy in the middle or you will take him out because he is not in this image. Or if you do, actually, I take that back, do that. Go ahead and paint him out. Go ahead and paint the guy in the middle out. To get him back, how do I get the guy back? You paint with black. So simply hit the X key, which will then paint black onto this mask, and it will actually hide that part of the image where the guy in the middle is. This is one of your first composites. So is this working for you guys? Who is this not working for? First off, let's make this bigger. So you're seeing the guy in the middle because everything else is hidden. Black layer mask hides him. You want to show this guy right here. You can see right here. You want to show him, right? So select the mask. You're fine now. Hit the D key. You've got black as your foreground color, so you're painting black on black. You'll never see anything. Hit the X key to get white as your foreground color, and that's it. Finish this guy first. Sorry, what? let's talk to him. Great. Okay. Are there questions? Does this work for the rest of you guys? Okay, you can throw this guy away. You don't need to save it. Yes, you can keep it. Come on, guys, we still got a lot to do. Focus. Okay, we're going to shot number 2 now. Hello. Shot number 2. I take it back. Yeah, let's go to shot number 2. Again, we're going to do the same trick. I need you to select all the frames in shot number 2. There's 7 of them. Click and drag this into on top of Photoshop, and they will all open up in Camera Raw again. Click and drag the files in Photoshop in shot number 2 and drag them all on top of Camera Raw again. So the very same thing is happening now, guys. So I had this, when I shot this, everybody good? Okay, same trick. If you look at the very first frame, I'm going to zoom into the color card. I shot this at exactly the same exposure, but the clouds were coming in, and I actually ended up with less light. So to figure this out, again, I'm going to click on the white balance tool. I'm clicking on the gray that's right next to the red patch. It's color neutralized now, and I'm looking at the RGB readouts, and I'm getting 212, 213, 209. Is that proper exposure? It's underexposed, so I need to either open up my apertures, I need to either slow down my shutter speed, or I need to change my ISO. I'm going to click on the very next frame, frame number 2, and I'm going to zoom into that. I'm going to hit the same patch on there, the gray that's right next to the red, to neutralize it out and read my readings again. I opened up some. I got to the 233s, but I'm still underexposed. That's not what my reading should be. I'm going to go to the next frame down, frame number 3. I'm zooming in. I'm clicking to neutralize that color. I'm getting my RGB readouts. I'm at 237. Is that acceptable? What should it be? Exactly. So I'm coming down to my frame number 4 right now. I'm zooming in on the card. I'm neutralizing the color out, and I'm coming over and reading my values, and I'm reading 243, 243, 242. Is that acceptable exposure? Yes, it is. So now I'm actually then simply going to come up to, again, the top of the film strip, click on the drop-down menu, do select all, and then right back to the same drop-down menu and come down to sync settings, change it from settings to everything, and say OK. That has now synced my bottom 3 frames. Those are the only ones that I wanted you to have. So again, if you click on the very bottom frame first, it's now been color neutralized from the card, from the image that we had with the card in it. Hold down the Shift key and select the bottom 3 so that you've got those 3 guys are available for us to, those are the ones we're going to bring in to Photoshop. You should still have this button over here, should still be reading open as objects, and simply click open, and all 3 of these guys will come in. And again, if it's come in as tab behavior, I actually will pull mine apart so that I can really see what's sort of going on here. What you'll see that I basically have is a shot that's looking to the left side of the couch, a shot that's looking right down the middle, and a shot that's looking to the right side of the couch. I want you to select the left side, the one that's right in the middle first. Everybody got the one in the middle first? Okay, we need to work with this, but we need to make some changes first. I need to expand this image, so I need to actually add space on both sides of this guy. If you come up to the image menu and you come down to canvas size, actually it will let me do it. So anyway, I don't want to do that first. What I want to do is I want to create a white background for this to be on first. So I've got my center image selected, the one where you just see the seam right down the middle of the couch. That is the one that is active. I'm going to then copy this layer. I'm going to simply come over to the layers menu, click and drag down to the dog-eared guy, and it makes a copy of it. Now I've got my original smart object on the bottom, and I've got my copy of my smart object sitting on top. I want to fill this bottom with white. I want to simply make this white. However, if I try to fill it with white, I'm going to hit the D key to get my colors to default to black and white. However, if I come up to, so I've made the background, the bottom layer active. If I come up to the edit menu and I come down, you will see that fill is grayed out. Why? It's a smart object. You cannot do anything to a smart object. I mean, you can redevelop it, you can process it, you can do other things. You can actually double click on it and go right back into Camera Raw. I can do that, but that's not going to help me. So I'm going to hit cancel out of that. In order to make this, to be able to fill with white, you need to rasterize it so it's no longer a smart object. To do that, up to the layer menu, down to smart object, down to rasterize. Either there or up to layer, down to rasterize, over to smart object. Either way, it does the same thing. And you will see that that little icon at the bottom goes away. This did not permit a smart object. Neither one of these is a smart object. Fine. Click on this guy. Neither one of those is a smart object. Close them all up. Go back into grab the files again, drag all of them on Photoshop like yeah. Okay, you got you change this thing, click on the thing. Click on everything in Photoshop that's not objects. Last one down, it's this one right here. These are all important, so just grab the last one. And select the one in the middle. Okay, so here we go, guys. So I've got now on this bottom layer right here, hey guys, stick with me. On this bottom layer down here, it is rasterized now, so I can fill it with white now. So again, I'm going up to the edit menu, down to fill, and I'm going to pick from the drop-down menu white and say okay. This is now filled with white down here. Then I'm going to change my canvas size. I need a much larger canvas to bring in the other two images on the other side. To do that, I'm not changing the image size, I'm changing the canvas size. So it's up to the image menu, down to canvas size, and a dialog box will open up. In the dialog box, you will see that where you can orient this. If you leave your little anchor right in the middle, and you change either the width or the height, what it will do is we're going to change the width of this. We're actually going to triple the width of this. So I'm going to change this width from 12.8 to 39. I've just essentially tripled it. And if I leave the anchor in the middle like this, half of the addition will go on the right side of this image, and the other half will go on the left side, which is exactly what I want. If you click the anchor so it's like this, all of the additional width or height will go onto the right side. If you click it on this part, all the additional width or height will go to the left side. But if you leave it in the middle, it'll split the difference, which is exactly what we want. I'm going to say OK to that. And you will see now that you've got space on both sides of this image. However, you'll also see that you have transparent space because what got added to that bottom background layer is transparent. I need this to actually be all white. So again, I'm going to refill that bottom layer with white. Now, the first time I showed you how to do it was to go up to the edit menu down to fill. But this time I'm not. I'm going to just use the keyboard shortcut because white is my background color. If you hold down Command Delete, it will fill your background with white. Option Delete fills it with foreground color. Command Delete, background color. So has everybody got this image on a white background? If you want to see what it looks like, double click on the hand in the toolbar and it did not reduce that as much as I thought it would. So, All right, are we good here so far? Yeah.
How do you get the background to not have the
I just feel blank.
Okay.
All right, so here it is, the final parts guy. You need to find the image that was shot pointing towards the left. So I've clicked the image right now that is the view of the left side of the couch. I'm simply going to do what we did before. I'm going to click on the layer of it and drag it on top of the image that's got the couch with the seam right in the middle. I am going to hold down the shift key and let go, and it brings it in and register. I don't see it because it's underneath the image right here of the middle one. It's because I was on the background layer at the bottom. When I brought this thing in, it just adds it above where I was. So I can't see it. In order to see it, you simply click on the layer and drag it up above the one that's got the middle. And then finally, hit the V key or grab the move tool and simply click and drag this guy to the left. If you want it to stay so that it's only moving left to right and it doesn't go up and down, you hold the shift key while you're actually doing it. And when you do that, now it won't move up and down, it'll only move left to right. And drag it till it's all the way to the far edge of the left-hand side. Don't go too far, don't go past it, but just so that it snaps to that edge. And then finally, find the couch that's pointing toward the photograph that's pointing towards the right. And again, click on the layer of it, drag it up on top of the image that we are working on, the one that's got the two images on it right now. Hold down the shift key and it will drop into the middle. Again, hit the V key to get the move tool, or just click on the move tool at the top, and then click and drag to the right. And as you're going to the right, add the shift key to it, and it will keep it in perfect register. And you now have your first expanded frame composite. If you hit the F key once, it will go to the pasteboard. The F key a second time will show it to you on what it looks like on black. This would now be considered a composite of expanding the frames. Who did this not work for? Are we good on this? We never got there. Click on the middle frame. You simply need to then, we're going to fill this down with white. So because white is your background, foreground color, keep it left, doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference. Hold down the command key and hit delete. And now we need to change the canvas size. So up to image, canvas size. And because our width right now is it's almost 15 inches. So I'm just tripling that. 300 units, 39. 39. Say okay. Then you get the blue line in it. You still need to fill this thing completely with white. So again, color. And you pull that from there, and all white. Now click on one of your other images. We're going to drag this guy on top of it. So click on top of the image, on the layer, come over drag. No, that's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Hit the V key to move it. Oh, it's just if you hold down the shift key. Good. Hit the F key once. Hit the F key again. You can actually start it down. You can filter here. Look at that. Amazing. Okay, we've got one last one to go, guys, and then we'll take a break. Who did this not work for? Are we good? Okay, you can close this one up. If you're on the black pasteboard like I am, hit the F key again, and you'll get back to the image that's got the little stoplights in it. So I'm going to click to close this guy up. I don't need to save him. I'm going to click to close this guy up. I don't need to save him. I'm going to close him up. I don't need to save him. And we're going to go back into the Finder for shot number 3. And in shot number 3, if you actually click on it, the first one, you'll see there is no color card in here, which is problematic. However, if that happens to you, is there something we could actually do? I've got 6 files in here. There's not a color card in the group. Is there a way I can go fix that? I could use the couch or the pillow to do my color neutralizing part. You're absolutely right as far as that goes. So we'll just try it. Is there any other thing I could do if there wasn't a white element in my shot? Yes, I can, and that's what we're going to do. So go back to shot number 2. And the color card that we used in shot number 2 that actually worked for us was frame number 4. This was the final one that we used. If you grab shot 2, frame number 4, and drag it on top of shot number 3's folder and hold down the Option key, it will make a copy of that into your shot number 3 folder, so that when you let go, you will see that you've just added a copy. The original one is still in shot number 2. By holding down that Option key, it did not move it, it copied it. So now select all of these files and bring those on top of Photoshop. And again, this part's actually working for me. I'm going to zoom in on this guy. I'm clicking on the white balance tool. I'm going to click on the patch right there. And then up to the film strip menu to select all, and then up and sync settings and sync everything. Don't worry about it. Just go from the couches because we're just colored off. Select all of them. Oh, and you're good. You're good. That's good. So for those of you who cannot get the color card because there's permission issues on some of these, for those of you who could not get the color card, you can simply come over and simply click on the couch and color balance, white balance on the couch. You'll be close enough. Or white balance on the little white of the white of the pillow is a little too blue, so I'm going to click on this part. Yeah, just the white of the couch will do the same thing. And then again, up to select all, and then again, drop down and sync all of your settings and say OK. So now again, I want to select only the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. You don't need to open up the one that has the color card if you manage to copy it. And I'm going to open all of these as objects. Okay, so has everybody got these open? Does anybody not have these open? Okay, to make sure that you're grabbing the right one, they should have opened up in order. But to make sure, if you click on your window menu, you'll see all of them sit right down here. You can actually use the down at the very bottom of the window to pick different ones. But I want to make sure you've got frame number 6 is the active frame. That's the one we're going to start with. We're going to make this our base. So frame number 6, it is the one, it was the last one too who have come in. And I'm going to simply drag it so that I can see things a little bit better, and it's right here. So this is a photograph, a series of photographs I did of this pillow. This pillow is actually, it was the one that was sitting on the white couch. This is the lower right-hand corner of the pillow. So again, I need to build a bigger canvas to work with this on so that I can bring all of the other images in to create the rest of the pillow. This is the last of the expand the frame composites. So to do that, I need to, again, start with a bigger canvas. However, I need to do the very same trick before. I need to float this smart object up so I can move the smart object by itself so that it's on its own canvas. That's sort of what I need to do. So again, last time we copied this. Don't do this now. Just watch my screen. Everybody look at my screen really quick. I'm just going to copy this, and then I came down and I rasterized this layer. So again, up to type, down to smart objects, down to rasterize, and then I filled it with white. That's what I did before. I'm going to go back in history. I'm going to say we're going to do this another way right now. Instead, I want you to simply add a blank layer on top by simply clicking on that guy. Then fill this blank layer on top with white. Again, when you hit the D key, your foreground and background colors will default to black and white. If white is your background color, you hold down Command Delete and it will fill with white. If white is your foreground color, you would hold down Option Delete and it will fill it. Now come back over to your layers palette and grab the shot, the smart object shot, and simply drag it on top of that white layer. Either way you do it, we end up at the same place. So has everybody got a white background? Okay, so the final thing that I need to do for this one particular image is I've got to increase my canvas size. So to increase the canvas size, come up to the image menu, down to canvas size. And again, we are going to make this, I'm going to do it 3 times wider and 2 times taller. So everybody look up at my screen. Okay, up to image. Canvas size. So with the dialog box up, I'm actually going to make my image 3 times wider. So again, I'm going to type in 39. I'm just ballparking this, guys. And I'm going to make it twice as tall. So the height on this is almost 20 inches. So I'm just going to put in 40 inches for the height. However, this image right now is the lower right-hand corner. If I click OK right now, this image is going to be smack dab in the middle of my canvas. That's not where I want it. I want it in the lower right-hand corner. So if you click on this anchor point down here, what you are saying to Photoshop that you want it to do is you want it to add all of the additional height on the top and all the additional width to the left-hand side. And simply say OK now. And what you'll end up seeing, again, if you double-click on the hand to get this to jump back out, is you'll see an image with your smart object down here in the lower right-hand corner, which is fine. It's where it should be. Is everybody good on this? Okay. Click on that smart object to make sure that it is the active one. Actually, I take that back. Let's go ahead and fill our background with white. So go ahead and click on the bottom layer, the one called Layer 1. And again, because white is my background color, I'm simply going to hit Command Delete. That fills my image down here. But my smart object is on top of it, and I can actually move my smart object around because it's independent of the canvas that's sitting down on the bottom. Yeah?
Do you just choose that bottom right one?
I do it because that is actually going to be the bottom right hand corner of my photograph.
Right, but like when you're choosing, when you're going to build it like this, doesn't matter.
You could do it anywhere because you can move this around. I mean, this guy, if you click on this guy right now and hit the V key, you can move him all over the place. It doesn't matter. It's just that it's easier for me to start it this way.
Okay.
All right, are we ready on this, guys? You don't want to move anything. You've got this guy. You want to fill this with white. So just pull out the tape. Select this. Okay. Okay, guys. So next thing. Hang on, guys. So I'm now going to grab frame number 5. It's the next one in the stack that's over here to the side. You can see right up here, shot 3005. That's frame number 5. I'm going to make it active, and then I'm going to come over to the layer palette, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag, and I'm not going to hold down any shift key. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm simply going to drag it on top of my big canvas, and it comes in and it looks like this. So I need to make sure everybody got there. Okay, so we need to put this into place. We need to get this guy to go on top. It needs to line up with this one on the bottom, but you can see I've actually twisted my camera when I shot it. These guys do not line up at all right now. So in order to get them to line up, our first move is going to be to lower the opacity of this layer so I can see through it. So over to the opacity slider on your levels palette, on your layer palette, and simply click and drag it down to like 75%. So now you can actually see both of the layers if you drag this guy on top of it. However, dragging this on top of it is not enough. I actually need to rotate this as well. All of what we are doing, moving and rotating and all of that, is called transforming. The command shortcut for that is Command T. If you cannot remember Command T, it's over here under the Edit menu down to Free Transform. You'll see it right here, and you'll see the keyboard shortcut for Free Transform right here is Command T. When that happens, you'll actually get a series of corners on this. You'll get an X in the middle. If you click in the middle of your image, you can move it just like the Move tool. However, if you stay outside of the image, you will see that your cursor turns to a double-headed arrow. When you get that double-headed arrow, you can click and drag to the left, and it will rotate it to the left, or to the right, it will rotate it to the right. So what our job is going to be to do is to try to get this thing to line up on the image that's underneath it. Now, I get mine sort of in place. I'm going to zoom in. To temporarily get the zoom tool, you hold down the space bar and the command key, and that will let you zoom in. If you want to zoom out, you hold down the space bar and the command key and add the options key. But at any rate, I'm zooming in just a little bit so that I can actually move this guy around, and what I'm trying to do is line up the pattern that's actually on the pillow. So I've got this looking actually pretty good. It's not going to be perfect, but it should be pretty close. Again, but the imperfection is one of the characteristics of this. So mine is pretty good. If you want to do micro movements of this, if you don't want to, if your mouse, moving it around with your mouse seems too quick or too, it's taking off on you too fast, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So the up arrow key will move it up a pixel at a time. The down arrow key will move it down. Left and right as well will actually do it as far as that part goes. So is everybody sort of good about that? Did you get yours sort of in place? Did anybody not? Once you get it there, hit the Enter key or the Return key on your keyboard to accept the transform, and then drag the opacity all the way back up again. And you've just started your first expand the frame. Are we good on this? Double click on the hand to get the image to drop back down again so that it's smaller. Move it to the side and grab frame number 5 we've actually already used now. So you can close frame number 5 up, the one that was by itself. When it asks to save it, you do not need to save it. Now we need to go after frame number 4. So grab frame number 4 and again, come over to the layers palette. Drag frame number 4 on top of your composite and let go. Again, lower the opacity of frame number 4. You'll see that your layers actually take the names of the images with them. So it's frame number 4. I've dropped the opacity down to like 70%. Command T to bring up the transform dialog box. And then I'm going to, again, bring it down to try to get it to line up on the bottom. So I'm looking for common elements there. I can see there's a series of stripe. There's a stripe right here. If you look up at my screen really quick, guys, there's a stripe right here. There's this one area right here that's exactly this area right down here. So I know that those are supposed to line up. So again, I'm going to get it close. I'm going to zoom in by holding down the Command and Space bar. And then I'm looking to get those guys to actually line up. It's that corner right there. And then I need to rotate this a little bit and bring that up and rotate that a little more. And that's about as close as I'm going to get on this one. It's actually pretty close. Is this working for you guys?
Just go back in history. And then you delete it. Select that way. Okay. And just do it again. So drop the opacity on this side. And go 75% good. Command T. See this right here? That one right there matches right now. That's good. I mean, I think you need to work for that backward. Okay. Does the transform drag your capacity back up again? Good. I don't know why you're looking at this part. Don't click on the hand over there. This is frame number 4 now. This is the one you want. Drag the other up again. Lower the opacity. See that? See that one right there? That one matches that one. Okay, we've got 3 more to go. So I've hit the enter key to actually do that. My transform there, drag the opacity all the way back up again, pull this guy out of the way. I'm going to again get rid of shot number 4. It's done its job. I've already brought it into my composite. You don't need to save it. I'm going to go after shot number 3 now. Shot number 3 is actually, I think, on the left. No, it's not. It's on the right-hand side. No, it isn't. It's on the left-hand side. Okay, shot number 3 is on the left-hand side of this composite. So I'm simply going to double-click on the hand to shrink my composite down. And then I'm going to grab that frame number 3, drag it on top of my composite, let go, lower the opacity down to 70% or so, zoom into this area to see if I can find something common. Command T to bring up the transform dialog box. And I can find, oh yeah, it looks like there's these little weird shaped things that sort of are in the middle of the pillow. That looks like it's a pretty good one right there. And rotate it and bring it down. That seems like I'm reasonably close. Probably bring it down a little bit more. Again, some of the imperfection in how these line up is the quality of the composite. So again, I've gotten it really close. I'm going to hit the return key to go ahead and commit the transform, drag the opacity all the way up again. Then I'm double clicking on the hand. It's the exact same move I'm making every single time, guys, to move this out of the way. I'm clicking on frame number 3. It's done its job. I can close it up. I don't need to save it. Finally, I'm going to go to frame number 2, click on the layer, drag it over on top, lower its opacity, zoom in a little bit, hit Command T to bring up the transform
transform dialog box, the transform handles. And I'm going after those guys still in the middle. And drag this down a little bit. And hit the return key to commit the transform. Drag the opacity all the way up. And then do the very final one. I'm just closing up frame number 2 and going after frame number 1, the final one. Click and drag it on top. Lower its opacity. Command T to bring up the transform dialog box. Zoom into my image a little bit. And I'm just going to get those stripes on the right-hand side to line up. And a little bit of rotation. Hit the return key. Drag the opacity all the way. Double click on the hand, and basically you've got the beginnings of what we were actually looking to do. Although I've got something wildly out of place right here. This didn't match up with that bottom guy at all. I think it was that far off. Anyway, I love the way that looks. Okay, so I'm double clicking on the hand. If you want to then recenter this guy, if you click all of your layers, so click on the very top one, come all the way down, click not the very bottom one, the layer number 1, but everybody else. So all the smart objects, if you click all of those at once, so I've got, again, look up at my screen, I clicked on the very top layer, I'm coming down, and at the very bottom, I'm not clicking on my bottom one, not on the white layer, but on this, I'm holding on the shift key and clicking on this one. That selects all of my smart objects. You can put all of your smart objects into what they call a group. To do that, you would simply come up to the drop-down menu here on the side, click on the flyout menu, and come down to New Group from Layers. When that happens, it's going to ask you to name the group and simply type in pillow. And say OK. And now what you will see is that you've got your original layer with a folder on the top. The folder on the top has actually got a little drop-down arrow, and if you click on that drop-down arrow, you will see all of your smart objects are sitting there nested inside that folder. If you click on the arrow again, you can collapse it to just activate the entire group of pillow smart objects. You simply click on the group. And now when you hit the V key to actually move this, you move the entire pillow composite up into place. And that is your last of the expanded frame ones. Are there questions about this? So on my last move, I've got all the smart objects are sitting there in the layers palette, right? Simply select the top one, scroll down to the bottom, hold down the shift key, and then select the bottom of the smart objects. Do not include the layer 1, otherwise it'll be put in the group with it. And then up to the drop-down menu here at the top of your layers palette, down to New Group from Layers. Not just, if you just do New Group, all it's going to do is put a blank folder on top of this. If you do the New Group from Layers, it includes the layers you've selected in your group. And then I'm just going to call it Pillow. And then say OK. And they're all inside. And now when you click on the group, everything that you do will actually happen. Are there questions about this? Did it work? You get the idea, right? Yeah. Because guys, this is going to be how you do your homework. So if you haven't figured this out, there's a problem. Are we good? What? You want to get together? Is that what you're asking me? Yeah, we'll figure it out during the break. Is everybody else good? All right, let's do a quick 10-minute break, guys, and we'll come back. We've got a lot else to get through today. But at least now you know how to do all your homework stuff, right? Yeah. Let me stop this recording really quick. I'll be right there.